Nairobi Securities Exchange over Friday's trading. BOC was one of the gainers, and actually the top gainer for the day. Let's look at the stock here for BOC. BOC Kenya Limited is a Kenyan-based company that primarily is engaged in the chemical industry. The company, along with its subsidiaries, is engaged in the manufacture and sale of industrial and medical gases, as well as sale of welding products. It has operations in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in Uganda. And the company's subsidiaries include wholly owned East African Oxygen Limited, BOC Tanzania, and BOC Uganda Limited. And it is, of course, it also has a subsidiary. It is a subsidiary of Lind Group. Now, BOC Limited is listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange under the ticker symbol BOC. And the current capitalization for the company is 1.66 billion Kenyan shillings. And this ranks it the 36th on in the most valuable stock. And that is 0.075%. It has 0.075% of the entire stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange equity market. When you look at their earnings per share, they have a 5.55 Kenyan shillings earnings per share, and the price to earnings ratio is about 15.32 Ugandan shillings. And then when you look at the shares outstanding, they have 19.5 million shares that are outstanding currently, and the market capitalization of 1.66 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, after closing its last weekday of trading on Friday, the 9th of September 2022, the BOC company closed the day with a price of 85 Kenyan shillings, after gaining 9.7% of price valuation on its price valuation from 77.5 Kenyan shillings on the previous trading day. However, the BOC company began its year with about 70.00 Kenyan shillings and has since gained 21.4% on their valuation there. And they're ranked the 7th on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in terms of year-to-date performance. Shareholders can be very optimistic about BOC, knowing that it has accrued about 19% over the past 4-week period. And that is the 3rd best on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. BOC, however, is the 50th most traded stock within the last 3 months. That's from the 13th of June to the 9th of September, trading about 46,000 shares within the period, with an average of 730 shares per trading session, and a total, when you look at a volume high of 15,900, which was achieved on August the 10th, within the same period. Looking at the last 10 days of trading, on Friday they traded just 100 shares. That's about 8,500 Kenyan shillings. On the 6th of September, they also traded 200 shares. On the 2nd of September, they had 1,100 shares and 100 shares on the 25th of August within this period of 2022. They have several competitors on the stock market, and these are also engaged in basic materials such as Crown Paints Kenya Limited and Kabaseed Investments Limited, as well as Flame Group Holdings Limited. And currently they come still around somewhere the second amongst all these, with Crown Paints Kenya Limited having the top year-to-date performance after gaining about 43% on their year-to-date performance. That's BOC for you. He was the top gainer yesterday. However, we have seen his volumes are not so good. You're seeing 100 shares, 1,000, and so on and so. So very good price movements, but not yet there in terms of the volumes as well. Total Kenya came in the second place at 8.7% price appreciation. Now, Total Kenya is engaged in the sale of petroleum products in Kenya. The company has 4 business channels, the network channel, the general trade channel, the aviation channel, and the exports and bulk channel. And when you look at the network channel, it includes the distribution of petroleum products through service stations located across the country. And then the general trade channel includes sale of range of products such as of all sizes for industrial consumers. And then the aviation channel comprises of sales of turbine kerosene and aviation gasoline to local and international air carriers there in Kenya. The exports and the bulk channel comprises of sales of a range of its range of products to neighboring countries and other industry players. The company tests diagnostic lubricants laboratory in Nairobi, averages about 50 tests a day for clients within the region. And in addition, the company runs a quality control laboratory in Mombasa, which monitors the products of lubricating oil blending plant as well. Total Kenya is listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange under the ticker symbol TOTL. And when you look at their current capitalization of 4.38 billion Kenyan shillings, they are the 27th most valuable stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange out of the 65 listed equities on the exchange. And their capitalization constitutes about 0.199% of the entire Nairobi Securities Exchange capitalization. Yesterday, their opening price was 24.8 Kenyan shillings. The day's low price was about 23, and the day's high price was 25. The trading was done, and they had a total volume of 1,100 shares that were traded in 3 deals that were made, and a gross turnover of 27,300 Kenyan shillings. Their earnings per share is 4.35 Kenyan shillings, and the price to earning ratio is 5.75. Looking at their shares outstanding, they currently have 175 million shares outstanding and a market capitalization of 4.38 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, after gaining about 8.7% yesterday, they closed the markets with a price of 25.0, and that was after recording an 8% gain from 23 Kenyan shillings opening price to 25 Kenyan shillings closing price. Total Kenya is the 39th most traded on stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange over the past 3 months. And within this period, it has traded a total volume of over 260,900 shares and an average of 4,137 shares per session. And the volume high of about 35,200 shares was also recorded on the Nairobi Securities Exchange on the 19th of August in the same period. And yes, that is it for Total Kenya. Yes, when you look at their volumes, about 100 on 9th, on the 8th, they had about 19,400. On the 6th, they had about 10,400. And so, yes, they have some good volume and good activity and a good price gain. So get yourself some stock in Total Kenya there on the Nairobi Securities Exchange as well. Let's wind up this day, of course, with Safaricom. Safaricom is one of the most traded on stocks on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It is a telecommunications company engaged in the provision of SMS, voice, internet, and M-Pesa services This company also offers a range of devices such as mobile handsets, mobile broadband modems, routers, tablets, notebooks, and laptops as well, with a range of pricing plans on the prepaid and postpaid options. Safaricom offers a variety of messaging services bundled with SMS and or data services. And Safaricom has been trading on Nairobi Securities Exchange since the 9th of June 2008, over 15 years of experience on the exchange. It trades under the ticker symbol SCOM. And the international securities identification number for the company is KE10001402. Safaricom Public Limited Company is the #1 most traded, most valuable stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, with a total capitalization of 1.17 trillion Kenyan shillings, which is about even more than 50%, 53.1% of the entire Nairobi Securities Exchange equity market. This is very interesting. One single company has more than half of the entire equity market in Nairobi, and that is Safaricom. And yesterday, they lost about 0.45% of their price valuation, and they currently are trading at 28.8 Kenyan shillings. And when you look at their opening price, it was 28.9, and their day's low price was 28.6 Kenyan shillings, and the day's high price was 29.0 Kenyan shillings. And their traded volume was 5.43 million shares. And the turnover was about 157 million Kenyan shillings. You're seeing these huge volumes because this company literally has very many foreign investors, and definitely few people have been able to invest in it here in Kenya and also here in Uganda. But as well, it doesn't take away the fact it is still it has the biggest capitalization and the most active market on the stock market there in Kenya. And when you look at their year-to-date, the company began the year with a price of 37.95 Kenyan shillings and has since lost 22.9% of their price valuation, ranking them the 59th in terms of year-to-date performance out of the 65 equities that are listed. Shareholders' worries should also be compounded by the fact that Safaricom has still lost 6% on their value since the 12th of August to date. So in the 1 month performance, they are still on the losing side. However, they're the most traded stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and within the last 3 months, they have traded over 433 million shares on the market. And the volume high of 36.1 million was achieved on the 24th of June within the same period, and a low of just 502,800 on the 23rd of June as well. And when you look at their volumes, they're always trading in millions. They have 3.1 million, 3.0 million, 4.6 million, 7 million, and so many others. So this is definitely a company you should have some stock in if you're here in Uganda and you want to invest in Kenya. That brings us to the end of that analysis. You can buy stock in Kenya via some stock brokers here, but you can also get in touch with stock brokers in Kenya for that particular trade that you would want to make on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We're still watching financial markets, and we are just about to wind up the show, but let's have a look at some of the top stories that have made headlines within this financial markets world. When you look at one of our top stories here, Uganda here is awaiting China's debt relief. Uganda awaits China debt relief deal. The finance ministry has said there is certainly a possibility that Uganda will be among the 17 countries to be forgiven the interest-free debt. Now, China's Foreign Affairs Minister Wang Yi announced on August 18th that China will waive 23% interest-free loans for 17 African countries that had matured by the end of 2021. Wang announced the cancellation at the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing, in what he said was China's ability to keep its word with real actions. Wang Yi, in his statement that appeared on China's Foreign Affairs Ministry website on the 19th of August, did not divulge details about the 17 countries that qualified for the debt forgiveness. Mr. Moses Kagwa, the acting director of economic affairs at the finance ministry, said that it is still being discussed and the terms of forgiveness are not very obvious. It was supposed to be a bilateral discussion and completed. However, he did not provide details on whether Uganda has interest-free loans with China, but maintained that Uganda currently has interest-bearing loans with Asia's economic giant. An official at the Chinese embassy in Kampala could not independently verify if there were any interest-free loans advanced to Uganda by China. And the information is from the Ministry of Finance because they have the projects and loans involved, and they cannot find exact documents whether or not Uganda has interest-free concessional loans with China. That's a story, of course, you can follow up in the papers today and definitely get to learn more. But I want to remind you, you can lend to government. You can be able to get some interest on that lending by simply getting through your primary dealers, maybe your bank, your commercial bank. There are a few primary dealers in Uganda, and you can get to access some of these services also through the exchange if you want to. Right now, one of the most profitable investments you can make is in a treasury bond. At least the 10-year bonds currently are standing at 18%, and the 5-year bonds are standing at 16.5%. Thank you very much for being a wonderful viewer. We will, of course, meet tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember to save and invest some money in the financial markets. My name is Anthony. I'll catch you tomorrow. See you.